So I haven't updated you. I had done a longer one. I was in the middle of doing a longer one, but I don't want to make a longer one right now. It's just the issue actually made me go in several nights ago. I haven't been outside since all of this, but because I just didn't want to deal with the little girl anymore. She wouldn't. I kept saying, "Go away and don't stop coming over here to me. I don't want to talk to you." And even after I talked to this one fella, he lives right next to my gal, the other gal that's also having her stuff messed up. Um, hey, baby raspies. And I asked him. He was like the Pied Piper. All the kids were around him, and I hated to do it. And his kid was cranky, and I told him if we won't. He goes, no, no, no. And he started. So please. Wound up talking for over an hour out there on the porch, but. I told him all the shit. The little boy, the little girl, don't know who the parents are. The other my gal there, your neighbor, the next one up. She doesn't even know who's who because y'all co-parent. He was, and so we don't know who to go to, and that's why it's been going on for extended. I didn't know for over a year and a half or so. It was 2 years that she's had just I think they're taking target practice because out of this courtyard, just this courtyard, me, her, and her direct next to her, it looks like they have, she has half the bed and she has, yeah, so it's kind of cool. We're the only ones that always seem to get the balls thrown into or something like that. That's because a lot of times when there's no adults out there, they're using them for target practice. Your planters or something like that. Because I've noticed something knocked over. I'm like, before the plants started getting in the way, and I'm like, how did they knock that over? But now the morning glories are covering everything, and they can't, and so we talked for a long time, and he was upset. He was like, I can't imagine any of the parents here that I know. None of them would allow that. So I'm sure both of those two kids that you specified are acting out. I said without their parents knowing. They probably only do it when their parents are around. He goes, yeah. I said, well, the way to solve that apparently is anytime any of them are out, anybody under like 12 or something like that is outside, some authority figure, the mother, the neighbor, or whatever, father, 16-year-old sibling, whatever, no young kids out there at all, even during the day. I said, because, it's not just that they're like hurting my feelings, hurting her feelings, breaking some of her things, but they're also learning that it's okay to be a little bully. And if you can bully an adult at 5 and 6 years old, what the F are you going to be doing when you're 7 and 8 and 9? And also, if we don't nip in the bud now, it's going to be even harder to get them to change. I said, but yeah, and besides all of that, New Jersey, they are trying, they've said it, trying to flip it red because of Bedminster. Those ICE raids, okay, they're already trying to put in a second detention center. We already have one. There's states that are a lot bigger than us that don't even have any. Leave us the hell alone, And he's laughed because I will use humor in tense situations. I said, but dude, man, besides the fact that they're being very disrespectful and hurtful and destructive to her, and setting up little whoever's doing that with the sand on the steps, that's dangerous. That could have hurt me. Is that what they wanted? And now you can't use it as a peer pressure. Now nobody can go outside without without an adult being present because a few of you wanted to be jerks to the other adults in the courtyard. You can use that. I said, but besides all of that, I'm not going to use his name. Besides all of that, I said, the way they want New Jersey, because he has Bedminster alcohol-free golf course, resort, and cemetery here. He wants the state to be red, so because he got a 30 out of 100 again from the health department. And, if it was a red state, he would just have everything like Florida is. Just fuck it, change the rules so he can get away with shit. And that can't happen at Bedminster because Jersey says fuck off. I mean, they took the alcohol license. A red state would have done that. And I said, I just heard a few days back, was it Hillsborough or Hills, one of the Hills things? It's less than an hour from here, where we are, that they had those, like, SWAT van raid shit going on. That's less than an hour from here. How long do you think it's going to take for that to get here? It's not going to take that much longer. How about your I said, and I used his name. I mean, I'm just happened to notice 99% of this complex is like either Indian, then Mexican, of that some sort of that descent. There's some black, there's occasional white, but dudes, man, the people upstairs are white, but they're also from Ukraine. So, yeah, which I have no problem with, and any of it, but I use it as a joke because it's very obvious. So the ICE would have a fucking field day here. And that worries me for my neighbors a lot. And I even have a sign out there on my porch. It talks about thawing, immigration built this nation. Thaw ice, that type of thing. Like constitutional rights, type of thing. And I people know what I think. Let's just put it that way. Everybody, even if you don't know, never been here, y'all can see with my flags and the sun, y'all know my stand. And I said, I don't know if you've noticed, but like, most of y'all here are people of color. And he was like, I was like, yeah, okay. Don't you think y'all people of color should be as concerned, if not more concerned, than me, a white person, that they're getting closer? And you're just letting your kids out, young kids? What happens if ICE rolls up while you're inside with the window open every now and then looking out, and your children of color are running around without anybody older paying attention? And I said his name. What do you think's going to happen in that situation? You might want to tell the parents that. What do they think is going to happen? They're going to snatch those kids up. The kids start screaming, so you come out and they snatch you. Why are you letting just for that reason alone right now, the kids should not be out there ever without being, supervised by an older authority that knows what the fuck to do if something happens. He says, you're right. You're right there. You are right. He goes, I'm going to have to talk. I was like, that's the thing, that being bullied by the kids, one thing. Having your shit broken now and then, one thing. Seeing ICE come and use those kids to endanger the rest of you, that's a no-go. And I used his name. I said, what are they going to feel when, if they had been out there physically with them and they'd seen it themselves, they could have gotten their asses and their kids safe inside their locked door? And I was crying, and I said, that's the thing that bothers me the most. It's not being bullied. It's not being able to sit out here without the kids bullying me, or without them messing up, mucking about in her shit, their shit. All of that's an inconvenience and a pain in the ass and not fair. But it's not life threatening, and leaving your kids unattended to play right now is. It's not something just to dismiss. I said it was less than an hour away they're doing raids now. And that's when he looked kind of shaken a little bit, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to the parents too." I was like, "Yeah, yeah," because I am so worried about you guys, and that would absolutely destroy me. If that happened and I hadn't mentioned it to anybody and let them know that maybe, not just to stop them from getting too big for their britches and thinking that they have way too much freedom, Besides all that, it could make the difference between ICE getting your family or not. I mean, isn't that something? I mean, that's legit. He goes, no, you are right. I mean, even without that, he goes, they shouldn't just be running around. I said, I can understand if she needs to go to the bathroom 10 minutes or something, but when you got cell phones these days, there's no reason. There's no reason, And I think the next day I was fine until about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I just suddenly got a flush of, and I slept really well that night. I just got really hot, and it just went all over my body, and even I went into the bathroom. My face was red. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And all of a sudden, I felt like I had a pee, like I had the runs, and I didn't with either. And I felt like I had a puke, and I didn't even have anything in my stomach. And, I mean, that lasted for a couple hours. It was, like sweating and just, I don't know what the fuck. And then, 3 hours later, maybe, all of a sudden, I was washing off again, with the cold water, and all of a sudden I got really chilled, freezing cold. I'm like, what the fuck? And then by the early evening, late afternoon, I was fine. I laid down for an hour or two, and I was fine after that. I was like, I talked to my case manager some the other day, and I had told him about that. I was like, now, could that be possible? Because that I was stressing so much more than I thought I was, that when I finally didn't have that stress anymore, like my body had to reset. He goes, well, it's not impossible. I said, because my brain works constantly. If I'm not thinking consciously, it's always in the background. And then all of a sudden, like, ding, the answer will come up, and I'll be doing something, and all of a sudden the answer will be like, here's your answer. I'm like, I wasn't even thinking about it, but apparently I was. He goes, well, that's why I'm saying, for somebody like the way your brain works, the way I see, it's very possible. I said, because you know what? Ever since then, that was a few days later, and I said, ever since then, I noticed that my voice carries, and people that know me, if I get more than the outside voice, because when you're upset, everybody's voice gets louder, and when you're really excited, it gets really, when you have both extreme emotions. But mine is all the time. So I've asked people to be like, do certain things or say certain things that don't trigger me for other issues, traumas, And I noticed in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that, that people were doing that a lot more to me. And I'm like, And I wasn't conscious of it, which a lot of times I can be unless I'm really stressed. I must have been really stressed, because since then, I haven't been getting as bad as the leg cramps that I was getting again on that one side. I mean, seriously, there was all these little things that kept popping up the last 2 or 3 weeks that were just adding more and more stress because of physical shit. And it's almost like after all of that came out and told him, just let him know everything, and my worries, and, how I was like, how you be bullied as an adult by a 5-year-old? What the hell is that? Enough that it's annoying you? Are you a child? Are you a child? What is it, Mr. Pants? He's going to poke me with his nail in a minute because he keeps rubbing on me. You want to come up here to see everybody?